Hey guys, it's James Ballard from wildwings.co.uk, and today we're going to be having a look at the fast aileron roll. So if you haven't already watched most of my beginner tutorials so far, go ahead and watch those because there's quite a few techniques that we develop in those tutorials that I'm going to move forward into this one. So I consider this to be one of the more difficult beginner tutorials just because there's a lot going on and it's very easy to get disorientated. So don't worry if that happens, we'll just keep practicing it, okay? So what we're going to learn is how to do an aileron roll like this at a constant height and add corrections so that it doesn't drop out or fly out somehow and go into a crash. Now, if you haven't done any of this before, it's always best to learn this kind of thing on the simulator because especially when you're rolling, it's very easy to get disorientated and come down into a crash. So simulator is always the best way to learn this kind of thing, to get your thumbs going in the right movement, to get your muscle memory going. And then once we've learned how to do that on the simulator, we can go ahead straight away and do it in real life. So let's break this down and have a look at what we're actually doing. So first of all, we're going to choose a direction to roll. So everybody has a different direction that works better for them, and some people are really lucky and they can do both directions as easy as each other. I always start with the left aileron and then do the right aileron, but it's always good to be able to do both in the end. So whichever one you start with, know that you are aiming to be able to do it with both. Okay, so I'm going to pick the left aileron, so I'm going to start rolling with my left aileron like that. So what's going to happen now is if I start rolling too slowly and don't do any corrections, then the plane is going to start to do this and it's going to go down and it's going to crash. If I do too much corrections, then it will go all over the place. So we just want the right amount of corrections for the speed we're rolling. So to start with, what I've done with my Watt4 is I've set it up so that it has rates. Now what this means is I allow the ailerons to only move so much. So if I put on full aileron, so full left aileron, I've got it so it doesn't roll too quickly. It rolls just a nice speed. So you want to have a go at setting those up so you don't have too much movement. If you have a user guide with your trainer model, it should tell you in there what the rates should be. So you want it on low rates so you can do a nice slow spin while also having full aileron stick on. And the reason you want full aileron stick is because you don't have to worry about where the position of your aileron stick is in the middle of the movement. You want to just know that it's all the way across, done. You can keep it there and not worry about it. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to put on full aileron stick and it's going to start to roll. Now in later tutorials we're going to go through the slow roll, and in this roll we're going to correct with both the rudder and the elevator. But in this tutorial we're only interested in the basics, so we're only going to correct with the elevator. So as you start to roll, it's going to be quite quick, not too quick, but quite quick, so we don't need to worry about this part. And now when we're inverted, this is the problem, because when we go inverted, it's going to want to sort of do this motion. Now, it also again depends on your plane as well as to how much it will start to come down. If you've got a mid-wing section, like this yak here, then you could be quite okay and not have to do much corrections. If you've got a top wing section, or really just depends on your plane as well, then it might start to do this sort of thing, or the other way. So what we've got to be aware of is that most likely when we're inverted it's going to start to do this. So the way we correct this is to put in down elevator. So left aileron roll, keep it there, you roll over to inverted, and at this point down elevator will keep that nose up. Keep it rolling, and at this point you're going to want to put in a little bit of up elevator. Now if you put in too much down elevator at this point, it's going to point upwards like that. And so that when you roll over to this point, if you put in more up elevator, you're going to start to be doing this looping stuff, which is great later on, but to start with we don't want to be doing that, we just want to be keeping it level. Okay, so don't put in too much and just try and get the feel for how much movement you have to do with your elevator to correct this dropping business, but without sending it up like that. So as you roll over, start to put in that elevator, down elevator to keep it up, but not too much. Keep it rolling, and at this point a little bit of up elevator, a little bit down elevator, a little bit of up elevator, a little bit down. And that is the basics of the fast aileron roll, and that is all you've got to do. And your challenge is to keep it level flight. So you don't want it spinning up, or up, down, left, right. You just want to keep it a nice straight line. And so if it starts to go off one way like that, you've got a few options. You can either stop the manoeuvre, so wait until it's the right way round and then fly out as normal, or you can try and bring it back if you're feeling ambitious. So the way you bring it back is you just using the elevator again. One, you're going to need the elevator to keep the nose up. You're always going to need that, okay? But also, if you put on the elevator slightly early, then you notice that at this point, the wings are not level, they're at this angle. So if I put on the elevator now, it will start to turn it this way. And this is the basics of the rolling circle, which is a much later on tutorial. But you can start to get to grips with it now by putting the elevator on slightly early, and you'll start to do this sort of thing, depending on when you put on that elevator. But don't worry about that too much. Again, just try and keep it level flight. So let's have a look now at the transmitter sticks. So you're going to want to be going into wind to learn this manoeuvre, and later on you're also going to want to practice it downwind because they do have different roll rates, different speeds. So yeah, it's really good always to learn moves into wind and downwind. So start into wind, and we're going to want about half power, but a bit 3/4 power if you want, but yeah, I'd just stick with half 3/4 power. You just want a nice steady speed. You don't want it really going quick, and you don't want it dropping out the sky. So nice steady speed, and then we're going to choose which way we're going to roll. So I've decided for me it's going to be a left aileron roll. So full left aileron, we'll start it rolling over. So at the beginning of the manoeuvre, you might want to add in a little bit of up elevator just to start this roll not to drop. So you start it pointing up slightly, so it's got enough up elevator to keep it level. It's just a tiny bit if you're going to do that. So full left aileron, tiny bit of up elevator, wait until it's turned around 180 degrees, and at this point a bit of down elevator just to keep it level. And as soon as it's level, you can start to leave off this elevator. You don't want to keep it held on, because if you hold it on, again, we're going to start to go somewhere we don't want to go. So hold on the aileron, little bit of up elevator, little bit of down elevator, little bit of up, down, like that. Okay, and that's it. So that is the basics of the fast aileron roll, which once you've learned that, we can go into several different tutorials that use that as the basics, like the rolling loop, the rolling circle. There's loads of them. So have a go at that. Now I've got some slow motion footage as always to show you, so let's go through that. So remember that the fast roll is all about using the elevator to correct your positioning, and not about the rudder. So start by using your aileron roll, and then add in your elevator as necessary. So in this manoeuvre, you want to be comfortable rolling both directions, both left and right aileron rolls. When you get comfortable doing both a left aileron roll and a right aileron roll, the next thing to do is put them together. So you might want to do a left aileron roll for 3 rolls, and then stop, and then perform a right aileron roll for 3 rolls. When you get even more confident with this manoeuvre, try switching up at different times, a left roll, then a right roll, or a left roll to inverted, then back to a right roll. And finally, when you get used to the timing of the elevator correction, to keep your plane flying in a straight line while rolling, increase the roll rate, roll really fast, and see if you can still keep the plane going in the same direction.